Hello and welcome everybody to Gatsby for Everyone. My name is Max and I am a staff software engineer here at Gatsby. If you want to follow me anywhere on the internet, my handle is up there on the screen at mxstbr, pretty much everywhere, which looks way more complicated than it actually is because it's my name without all the vowels. So not that difficult. Now, a quick disclaimer right up front. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about is very heavy work in progress. My teams started the work on many of these different tools, but they're not even close to being done or at the state where we want them to be. I'm really going to be talking about the vision that we're trying to achieve, where we're trying to go, and less so about where we're at right now. The overarching theme of everything my team's been doing is that Gatsby should be for everyone, not just coders. Now that's nice and well, but what exactly does that mean? Well, on the simplest level, everyone should be able to add pages to a Gatsby site. For example, think about your marketing department. Your marketing department wants to try a new landing page. And right now, in order to add a new page to a Gatsby site, they have to get some engineering help. Either a CMS has to be set up in a way that allows them to add pages, or an engineer just has to build a page from scratch. But why is that necessary, right? Why can't everyone just add a new page without writing code? It's a static website after all. Now, we can actually go a step further. Everyone should be able to create websites with Gatsby without writing code. If you think about your local mom and pop shop, let's say a bakery, they might want to have an internet presence. In fact, in 2020, it's very likely they have to have an internet presence. Now, they can go on all kinds of services like Squarespace or Wix or Webflow to create a website for themselves visually without having to write code. However, all of these tools are very limited because you use their tooling and then you get a website. And you cannot extend it. If you want to extend that website, if you want to add any kind of custom functionality, you kind of have to eject from the whole system. You have to take whatever you've built, get the raw HTML, and then try to hire a developer to work on that. But nobody writes websites that way anymore. Particularly not if we have Gatsby, right? With React and React components and beautiful reusability, we build websites not as a set of static HTML files. We author them as components that we plug together with JSX. So sort of the overarching theme here is that everyone should be able to write code without writing code, and no existing tool really does this yet. This might sound like a really lofty goal, right? At first glance, this sounds completely impossible. How can you write code without writing code? But there's actual precedence here. In another niche in our industry, game development, this is common practice already and has been for years and decades at this point. For example, just look at Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine lets you build games visually. You have, for example, this beautiful level editor where you can add 3D models, plug them together visually, and create entire levels from scratch without having to touch any code. Not only that, but they actually also have a logic editor. You can add logic to your level and to your game visually with this node-based editor. Now, that's all nice and well, but here comes the real kicker. Unreal Engine even ships a UI editor. You can build your entire two-dimensional game UI with Unreal Engine. Do you know what that means? They already have exactly what we need, right? We're building static websites here. They're fully two-dimensional. We're talking about a nav bar at the top, a header, and then some content, right? It's two-dimensional blocks of content plugged together. With Unreal Engine, you can already do that visually. Now, of course, if you're building the next Call of Duty, if you're building a AAA game with a big budget that has to have custom functionality, you can still drop down to the level of code. You can still enhance your game with code and make it add any kind of custom functionality you want. But that doesn't break the visual editing. Your level designers can just open Unreal Engine and add new levels, and they don't have to write code. They just build levels visually. So if the game development niche has worked like that for decades, why don't we have that for web programming yet? That is really what my team is working towards. And I keep saying my team. Let me introduce you to our absolutely fantastic crew. We have Laurie, who works on themes, John, who works on blocks and recipes, Ricky, who works on GraphiQL, myself, I work on admin, and then there's Jackson, who's our team lead and who's also responsible for theme UI. Let's go through some of these pieces, because all of these pieces, they sort of fit together and they're going to help us achieve this vision. Let's go through and explain what each of these pieces does, how they work, and why they're there. First up, themes. Themes are absolutely core to letting everybody build websites. Themes, Gatsby Themes lets you share visuals and functionality between different sites, and they let you get up to speed very quickly. If you want a blog, you can use Gatsby Theme Blog, and you're done. You've got a blog. For many people, that will be sufficient, right? Maybe tweak a few colors, but overall, they've got a blog, they've got everything they need, right? Similar things should exist and do exist for, say, e-commerce shops, for portfolio websites, any kind of simple static site you have, you should just be able to use a theme. And Laurie's been absolutely kicking ass over there, making themes 10 times better and 10 times more useful. And there's some big things coming that you're also hearing about at Gatsby Days. Next up, we have blocks. Blocks is absolutely core to the whole page builder, page editing experience that I was talking about. Blocks is a visual editor for React app that was announced in November, a first alpha. Blocks lets developers and everybody else visually edit JSX. You can open a page or a page of your Gatsby site, and you can visually drag and drop the components on that page around, and blocks will actually edit the underlying JSX of that page to reflect whatever you have drag and dropped. That is really powerful, and it's a core piece to enable us to let everybody edit, add pages and websites. Now, blocks is a very complex thing to build. Writing code without actually writing code and writing code for the user can be really tricky. And so blocks is still in an alpha state as we're ironing out all of the issues, figuring out the user experience, figuring out accessibility, figuring out all of these really important topics before we actually have something that we can get into production. But we're heavily working on it, and John has been absolutely fantastic with that. Then we have recipes. They were recently announced, and they're really a way for us to manage our infrastructure in terms of the front end. The backend is, for example, Terraform, where you can declaratively define what you want your backend infrastructure to look like, and Terraform goes ahead and makes that happen for you. Recipes is kind of the same thing, but for front-end infrastructure. Things like linters, setups, libraries, all of these things should really be managed automatically. Why do we still keep setting up Typescript every time manually? Why do we keep setting up all the CSS and JS libraries manually, right? If you're thinking about the perspective of a person who's never coded, if you tell them, oh, you have to install the theme UI and theme UI Gatsby plugin, they're already stuck because they don't even know what that means. And they also don't know what Node is. They have no idea what NPM is. They've never used the terminal in life. So this is really another core piece to this whole puzzle, because we have to do all of that automatically for them. And recipes are a declarative way written in a MDX syntax to manage all of this sort of front-end infrastructure for a user. Now, recipes are already usable, and they're super great. If you just Google Gatsby recipes, you'll find the set of recipes we've built so far. There's some fantastic ones out there that really make setting up and configuring a Gatsby site a straightforward and simple task. Then we have GraphiQL. Now, GraphiQL is another cool piece here because it is really a visual editor for data. GraphiQL allows anybody to fetch any kind of data from any kind of service. It basically brings all of your services together in one and lets you figure out what is there, what can I query, How can I get it? Where do I get it from? What do I need? And all that kind of stuff. Now, Ricky has actually been working heavily on GraphiQL and is starting to get towards a new version that is going to be based on Monaco, which is the Visual Studio Code editor. Now, that enables and unlocks a bunch of really powerful features. Some of those are automatic fragments. If you've ever built a Gatsby site and you've copy and pasted a static query, you will know that if you copy a fragment in that static query, it's included in Gatsby automatically, but it's not in GraphiQL. And so you would have to figure out what exactly is the definition of that fragment, copy all the fields into GraphiQL, and it's really tedious. With this move to Monaco, the same automatic fragments that you have in Gatsby are going to exist in GraphiQL, and that is so nice. So nice, let me tell you. Not only that, but then you can actually peek the definition. Because it is the VS Code editor, you can do all the things you can in VS Code. So you can hover over a fragment, and you'll see beautifully rendered a popover with the definition of that fragment. The same thing is for the command palette and context menu. Those are just included for free, basically, and you can do any kind of action in GraphiQL that you can in VS Code. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm really looking forward for that to launch. Ricky's really been working hard on figuring that out, and I'm hoping that within a couple of months we'll have something to show there. And then, last but not least, we have Admin, which has been my baby for the past couple of months. Now, Admin, the plan for Gatsby Admin is to be the future hub for all of this tooling. In our first iteration, it's likely going to include GraphiQL, it's going to include blocks, it's going to include a way to install and manage themes. And it's really, in its first MVP version, is really a visual editor for configuration. Now, here's the thing. We have an alpha for admin ready for testers. It's not quite stable yet. It doesn't do everything we want it to, but we're really proud of it because we've already figured out the sort of the core issues around delivering it, how we're going to build it, what it's going to look like, how it ties into the rest of this whole setup. And so I want to give a quick demo of what it's actually going to look like. So this is just a standard Gatsby website. It's the theme UI documentation. I run the Gatsby develop command, the classic Gatsby develop command, which will do its thing and build the development bundle. Once that command has finished, I'll visit the homepage. And like I said, the theme UI documentation is just a standard Gatsby site. It's nothing special, but it does have a bunch of plugins, a bunch of themes, a bunch of other stuff. If we look at the homepage, just a normal website. I can click into the documentation. Like I said, totally normal documentation website built with Gatsby. But now I can visit /___admin. And there I have Gatsby admin for my site set up automatically for me. Now, at the moment, Gatsby admin shows me all the plugins I have installed, all the themes I have installed. It lets me uninstall existing ones, add new ones, and overall manage that whole setup of my gatsby-config.js. Now, under the hood, this actually edits the gatsby-config.js, right? This is not a replacement for writing code. It does write the code for you. That is really cool and really powerful because we're working towards supporting practically anything you can do in Gatsby config in Gatsby admin. And it's completely backwards compatible. If you're a developer and you edit the Gatsby config.js to add a new plugin or change the site metadata or whatever you want to do in there, the changes are going to be reflected in Gatsby admin as well, which is super awesome. Now, if you want to help us figure out where we should take admin, what else admin could be doing, if you want to test it, sign up for the admin alpha at gatsbyjs.com/admin-alpha. You'll see a small form there. If you fill that out, you'll get access and the instructions for how to run it with your existing sites. And with that, I am done for today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to this talk. I hope I inspired you a little bit, and keep an eye out for all the stuff that we're working on. Have a great day, and thank you.